Again. I did it exactly like you said. I did whoosh, 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 whoosh. You skipped the whoosh. I did not skip the whoosh. You did.
You know, he has a very particular way of understanding the world, and it's sort of, he lives in his own world, and so if something is awry, it's like really intrinsically awry, and it kind of, it's almost like a tick that he has to right the wrong, or he can't go forward. So the rat puts a wrench in the whole thing, and he literally can't even go into his apartment. I mean, that comes to the writing. I mean, and he's Amy and Dan's creation. So I actually think he's a mix of of them a little bit and me. You know, I think the music is a way to shut out the world. It's so he can concentrate. I think his mind is so chaotic. But I do think like when he is envisioning a dance and choreographing is when he's like most at peace. But I also think he's always working it out in his head at all times. I think it's like he can be, as you saw in episode 1, he's inspired in the street, so then he's working it out. He lives so immensely in his own world. So like the outside world is not really, it doesn't really come into the picture at all. Obviously, the arc with Gabin is like it's the catalyst for both of them, that relationship for change. I think Tobias has a very, very beautiful and clean arc because he has to kind of understand the other person. But I think Cheyenne and Tobias are kind of two sides of the same coin. They are very blunt about what they believe, and they really understand what they believe. And it's everybody else is kind of roadkill on the way, because all that matters is that what is in their brain is transferred. And so when he finally meets Cheyenne, it sort of is this like, he's so amped up in that scene, and he's so upset because, and the thing is that the piece was great, it's just not what he envisioned. So if he had envisioned it with her, it would have been different because it's her body. And she understands that. And I think because she understands that, they're able to connect. And that's the same thing with Gabin. Gabin weirdly understands Tobias. So like he's almost the, what's the right word? The whisperer, the horse whisperer. The show's called ÉTOILE. Everyone's sort of a star in their own right, and Gabin is a star, but the thing is, Tobias sort of has all the power and control because he's the one that is creating the thing. And because he's so specific, he's also a star. I mean, it's interesting. I've worked with like many directors, many choreographers in my time, and they're all personalities. So they all take up space, and it's all about how to be able to converse with them. You have to kind of fine-tune a language, and I think Tobias has a very, very specific language, and Gabin learns how to speak that language, and so they are able to kind of create something unique and beautiful. I think you see at the end of episode 4 when he comes back and Gabin's upset, and all of a sudden he has to be, he's being held responsible for that. And that's something he's not used to, and he's very uncomfortable with it. And he has to understand that, he has to come a little further. I think there was a line where he goes, your messaging was clear, Gabin says. And then Tobias goes, my messaging is never clear. And I think it's like an epiphany for him, and there's also there's a sadness about it, because he's realizing in past relationships that is something that has interfered. But he's also realizing, I think he needs to start to change. But then obviously when he rescues the rat, it's pretty great. Well, it's funny because I think there was a period in my early 20s where I listened to Talking Heads every day. I didn't tell David Byrne that. But yeah, it was funny. We wrote it for him in mind. And it's funny because like I view Amy and Dan with such reverence, where I'm like, of course everyone would say yes. But when he did say yes, Dan texted me, he was like, David Byrne said yes. Like the thing about Amy and Dan is that they are fans. They are super fans of music, of film, of television. So it was sweet to see Dan get so excited, because I was like, of course, why would anyone say no to you? I think it's like one of my favorite scenes, at least that I got to do. And I know Dan is so proud of it. It's a really crisp, clean scene. It's funny, I've known Jonathan my whole life, like since I was 17, but we've never really gotten to actually like have a scene together. I mean, we did little bits in Spring Awakening, but we were never like scene partners. And immediately, it was a very magical day, and everybody on set kind of, they felt it, because we have a long history and we have a rapport. It's not like that, but we got to sort of act out this like whatever this fantasy is that we were together. I mean, it sort of felt like we understood what it was like to be with each other in that moment, and so it was really cool. Extraordinary. I mean, I have a funny anecdote that I finally. I live a couple blocks away from Lincoln Center, and I finally got a show that shoots a couple blocks away from me. But I'm in Paris, and so that was kind of weird and ironic. I would come to visit when we were shooting, and I got to do that dance scene in the street in the first episode there, and that was cool. And my husband came with our dog, and he watched, and he gets bored really fast, so he left. But I would say also in Paris, I mean, we were like in the Opera Comique and the Paris Opera. It was wild to be in these places, and you're just sitting there, and there's Crafty, and you're like, oh, this feels so quotidian, but these are like vaunted, extraordinary places. I would say as an actor, to be able to like get up on stage and actually act on stage, and coming from the theater, it was really, really thrilling. And giving that speech at the end of episode 8, there was sort of like, I'm not very woo-woo, but there was this moment where I felt like, oh, everything I've done in my career has kind of led me to this moment. Like, here I am, I'm delivering this monologue on stage. I did this play called Significant Other many, many years ago, where I had to do similar things. I felt like, oh, I'm being called upon to then reflect as Tobias on my experience in Paris in this monologue that I helped write. And so there was something about it that felt really cathartic and beautiful, and we shot it at the very end of the season too, so it actually felt like I was reflecting on it, and it was a very magical experience.
It's very magical to watch, because it's like something where you're like, this probably would never happen in real life, but it is really fascinating to see how, Tobias views choreography in real time.
Yeah.
And
you get an insight to him, and I don't feel like you get insight a lot to how his brain works, and all of a sudden he is finally letting you in, and he's letting you in at a moment in front of hundreds of people. It's shocking. It's a beautiful moment. I love that there's a big gay kiss in the Palladino universe, and like as a gay man, it's very, very thrilling. I remember reading it, I got chills, and I love that it's a moment for Tobias to kind of take action, and Gabin is, by the time we get to the 8th episode, Gabin is pining for him. Like, he wants that validation, but also the realization that there is a connection there. And so I think it's funny that it takes so long for him to fully realize it, and obviously for it to materialize on stage as he's creating his great, great piece. There's something very magical about how it aligns like that. I'm not sure what's going to happen in season 2. We'll see. I mean, it might. It's interesting. There's not that many months that have transpired. Like, the whole season's actually just a couple months. So do we pick up like right where we left off, or do we go forward in time? Are people still in the same locations? I don't know. I had to learn magic for Alfie, and that was, I would train 3 days a week, and I had that magic show, but they hadn't written it yet, and we knew we were mounting to it, so they were like, just learn magic. And I was like, well, can we be more specific? Like, what tricks? And so I would learn all these tricks that I never even used. So I was actually like, I was getting, I don't know if good at it is the right word, but it's a coordination skill. And it's very funny because I'm not coordinated. So it's funny that now I'm in a show about dance, which is all about coordination. But I felt like this was a nice, like, homecoming for me in terms of, I grew up doing musicals and plays, and then I got to learn a lot about the classical music world with Maestro, and then doing this, I feel like this is another incredible live performing art that I didn't really know that much about. So diving into that was amazing. But also as a writer and being like really enveloped by Amy and Dan. As an artist, there's been nothing better. I mean, I feel like when people that you really believe in you, it's inspiring, and you start to believe in yourself, and they've given that to me. I think Tony Shalhoub is one of our great national treasures, so any moment to work with Tony. And I don't think I really got to work with Tony. I mean, we had that day where I was on stage and he was in the audience. I would love to do a scene with Tony Shalhoub. He could play my father.